Hello and welcome to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. My name is Mehmet. I share daily insights about the latest news and trends in technology while exploring their problem solving abilities. I also talk about startups and the entrepreneurs behind their innovative products and services. In today's episode, I will be discussing social engineering, what it is, how it works, and some examples of real world social engineering attacks, as well as some countermeasures to prevent them. So let's get started. But before I deep dive into social engineering, let's first define what is social engineering. Well, at its core, social engineering is the use of psychological manipulation to trick people into getting out of them sensitive information or performing action that could compromise the organization's security. It's essentially the art of exploiting human nature to gain access to systems or data that should be kept secure. Why it's so appealing to use social engineering by threat actors? Because in the chain of security, us humans are the weakest link. So let's talk about some common types of social engineering attacks and countermeasures to prevent them. One common approach, which is very well known, is phishing, which involves sending emails or other messages that appear to be from a legitimate source, such as a bank or social media platform. The message often contains a link that leads to a fake login page where the user is asked to enter their username and password. And once the credentials are entered, the attacker can use them to gain access to the user account and later on to a company or organization may be more secure or more important account and then put their hands on the important data that they are after, whether they want to delete it, encrypt it, or exfiltrate it. Now, phishing, the most famous phishing attack happened in 2016 where hackers used, a phishing kit to gain access to the account of John Podesta, who was the campaign chairman of Hillary Clinton. The attackers sent phishing email that appeared to be from Google asking Podesta to change his password. When he clicked on the link in the email, he was taken to a fake Google login page where he entered his credentials, and the attackers were then able to get access to his email account and leak sensitive information to the public, which ultimately impacted the outcome of the US election. A countermeasure for phishing attacks usually is first, you need to be cautious about any email that comes to you or any message that reached you. So before clicking on any links or downloading an attachment from an unknown source, even if it looked like very common domain like Google, Facebook, whatever. So it's always good to verify the identity of the sender before entering any sensitive information. Additionally, organizations can implement spam filters, email authentication protocols to help preventing phishing emails from reaching users. Another thing that organizations they can do is that they can invest in a solution that can monitor domain names that are trying to act as them. So usually, they will change one letter. Sometimes they use these special characters that looks like a letter. So organization can actually discover time ahead if someone is using this phishing kit, which it will clone their login page for their systems, but using a different domain. So this is a good idea also to invest so you know time ahead and you can take this fake website down. Another common type of social engineering attack is pretexting. So pretexting involves an attacker who posts as someone else, such as a tech support representative or a customer service agent. The attacker might use the phone, call, or email the victim, claiming to be from a legitimate company or even law enforcement sometimes, or maybe a bank, and ask for sensitive information such as the password, credit card number, and so on. Pretexting is one of the favorite, I would say, attack for threat actors. In 2019, a group of scammers used pretexting to gain access to phone accounts of high-profile individuals, including the former Twitter CEO, Jack Dorsey. The scammers called the phone company pretending to be the victims and were able to convince the customer service representative to transfer the victims' phone numbers to a new SIM card controlled by the attacker. And then they got access to the phone numbers, and then they were able to reset passwords and gain control of the social media accounts. A countermeasure to prevent these attacks, usually it's important again to verify the identity of the person who's calling you or sent the email to you. And if someone is claiming to be from a legitimate company or law enforcement, you should ask for their name, job title, contact information, and then verify the information with the company. Now, I know sometimes it's challenging because the way they do it, they are very smart. So they try to catch us in, a time in the day where most probably we are busy. We cannot think thoroughly at that time. And then they put the pressure using some, tone over the phone where they used to be insisting or something like this. And, they try to get all this out of us. So it's very important to take care of this type of this attack. A third type of social engineering attack is baiting, which involves leaving physical or digital bait for the victim to find. For example, an attacker might leave a USB drive labeled confidential in a public place, hoping someone will pick it up and plug it into their computer. Once the drive is connected, the attacker will gain access to the victim's systems and data. In 2011, an attacker left a USB drive infected with malware in the parking lot of a government contractor in the US, hoping that an employee would pick it up and put it in the computer. The tactic worked, and the malware was able to spread throughout the contractor's network, compromising sensitive government data. This brings me to a supply chain issue as well. So, of course, the countermeasures for these attacks is to avoid plugging any unknown USB drives or any external storage devices in your network. But again, you need to put some policies that prohibits not only your own employees, also your contractors from using external storage devices you should force the employees to report any found devices to the proper IT personnel. So far, we talked about 3 common types of social engineering. Let's discuss 3 more. So the first type I would like to discuss today is what is known as the quid pro quo. In this type of attack, the attacker promises something in exchange for sensitive information or access. For example, an attacker might call an employee and claim to be a computer technician, offering to fix the employee's computer in exchange for the employee's login credentials. Once the attacker has the credentials, they can use them to gain access to the employee's systems and sensitive data. In 2014, a man was arrested for using quid pro quo tactics to steal over $1 million from a bank. The man posed as a vendor and called bank employee, claiming that there was some issue with their computer systems. He offered to fix the problem in exchange for remote access to the bank's network. Once he had access, he was able to transfer the money out of the bank's account to his own. A countermeasure to prevent quid pro quo attacks: employees should be trained to never give out sensitive information in exchange of any goods or services. In addition, organizations can implement policies that require employees to contact IT for any technical support request. The fifth type of social engineering I want to discuss with you today is tailgating, and this involves an attacker following an unauthorized person into a restricted area, such as a secure building or a data center. The attacker might pretend to be an employee or a delivery person, and once inside, they can gain access to sensitive information or systems. In 2016, a security researcher was able to gain access to the server room for a major tech company by tailgating behind an authorized employee. The researcher was able to take pictures, videos from the server room, which then he used to demonstrate the company's lack of physical security in a blog post. To prevent tailgating attacks, organizations should implement strict physical security measures such as ID checks, security cameras, access control systems, and employees should be trained to never let anyone enter a secure area without proper authorization. The last one I want to discuss today is deepfakes. Deepfakes involve the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to create convincing fake audio or video recordings. Attackers can use these deepfakes to impersonate someone and trick their friends, family, coworkers to get sensitive data or information, or they could also use it to perform actions that could compromise security. In 2020, a deepfake audio recording was used to scam a CEO out of 243,000 US dollars. The attacker used an AI powered voice imitation software to impersonate the CEO's boss and request the transfer of funds to a fake account. The CEO believed the recording was genuine and transferred the funds, which were never recovered. And by the way, AI is becoming much better. I've shared about that before. And actually, there was an article a couple of days back where people were able to hack their own personal accounts by just using deepfake sounds. So, to prevent deepfakes attacks, it's important to be cautious about trusting audio and video recordings, especially those that seem out of character for the person in question. Now, this is a hard one. It requires a lot of due diligence. It requires a lot of high cautious level, I would say. And organizations should consider implementing policies that require employees to verify the identity of anyone who's requesting sensitive information or access. Now, sometimes if it's something related to money or maybe getting access, usually we see companies implement a two authoritative persons in order to do a certain action. For example, if you want to get a certain amount of money, let's say it's more than X thousands or X million. So one person cannot do this transaction by his own. It should be approved by a chain. So this could be another one. So those are the most common 6 types of social engineering attacks and their countermeasures. It's important to remember that anyone can fall victim to these types of attacks. And the best defense is to stay vigilant, practice good security hygiene. That means being cautious about clicking links or opening attachments, and be very careful when dealing with unknown phone calls or receiving emails from strangers, and always verify the identity of someone who's asking for sensitive information. In addition, user training, providing awareness to employees and subcontractors, and I underline subcontractors here because it's a supply chain, not like only your own employees. Of course, you can and you should invest in multi-factor authentication. So using multi-factor authentication can help prevent unauthorized access to sensitive systems and data. Although, and I will cover this in a later episode maybe, about also the challenges that we are seeing with MFAs nowadays. Access control, so you need to make sure that people get access to what they should get, and also to deny access for people who should not be physically or digitally in a place at a certain time. Incident response framework and plan. This is very important, and I would cover this in a future episode as well, because you need to know which framework you would be using, and then you need to put the plan under this framework to respond to such an incident caused by social engineering attack. And of course, the traditional one, implement, like endpoint security, implement network detection solution, detect firewalls, IDS, IPS, and all this stuff. And of course, regular software updates, so you can be patched against the vulnerabilities that these social engineering threat actors might utilize. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you would like this episode, because it's part of I would say, journey for me, where I will be covering certain topic and I will dedicate the episode for this topic. So if you like this episode, please share that with me. If you would like me to cover additional topics, if you have something in mind, if you want to come and join me in an interview on this podcast, I would be more than happy to host you. If you are a subject matter expert, I would love to have you on my show. And as usual, until we meet next time, Stay safe and thank you for listening. Bye bye.